Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Late Night Snap Decisions. I am your DJ, your host with the most, and I have got a great guest with me tonight. It is Joe Norris. Joe reached out to me on the X or Twitter or whatever it is you want to call it.
We call it
And
Twitter.
yeah, Twitter or whatever. Yeah,
we call it Twitter. I'll
yeah,
never
I
call it
still I
X.
still do too. I think X is stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been kind enough to come out. He's going to talk to us a lot about Marvel Snap, of course, tonight. And he is a multi-infinite player. So great to have a person like that on the show because I want to talk to him about that since I can't really give you guys that much of an aspect from that side of things. But Joe, thanks for joining me, man. I really appreciate you coming on tonight and reaching out to be on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. By the way, Joe, I want to give you a chance to plug your amazing. Joe sent me a gift, man, and my wife loves it. I knew she would. I tried a little bit. She had it on because you recommended putting it on chips. She had it on chips. And yeah, dude, he's got a hot sauce. Not really a hot sauce though. Just,
spicy condiment, not a hot sauce.
Yeah, it's a condiment. tell everybody what you got, man, and where they can get it. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I make a spicy condiment called Hot Jawn chili sauce, JAWN. If you're from the Northeast corridor, you are pretty familiar with the word Jawn. Yeah, it's a spicy condiment. I specifically call it a spicy condiment because it's a little bit thicker. It's not as vinegar forward as your typical hot sauce is. It's mostly vegetables, all natural ingredients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of one of those things where you can kind of put it on everything. It's closer to a sriracha than a Cholula or a Tabasco. And it happens to be absolutely delicious.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm gonna try it. We just got some hot dogs yesterday, and it's starting to get a little bit warmer out, so we can kind of use the grill. So I'm gonna definitely try it on hot dogs.
For sure,
love grilled hot dogs. So you got to tell me where did you? Well, tell the guys first of all where they can get it, and where'd you come up with that idea, man?
You can get it at allthejawns.com, ALLTHEJAWNS.com. So I wanted to open a wing and fry shop, and I wanted to create kind of like a signature wing that wasn't buffalo, barbecue, teriyaki, lemon pepper. Yeah. I wanted to create something that was unique. And, I made the first iteration of this and I was like, holy hell, this is absolutely delicious. And then it just so happened that COVID hit like a few weeks later. And I was like, okay, well, opening a restaurant is a really terrible idea. But I had already made the sauce and I was like, okay, I need to bottle this. This is legit. This is something that has legs to it. So, bottling it and it's going well. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Congrats.
People love it.
That's fantastic, dude. That's amazing. Coming up with something like that on your own, and like you were saying, it's very rare. I mean, wings are everywhere. Restaurants that shouldn't have wings do, unfortunately. And like you said, there's the flavors are pretty much always all the same. So making something unique like that, I was looking at the ingredients. I saw there were carrots in there, which is that's kind of cool. It's unique. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll revisit it at the end if you guys want to give it a try. He'll tell you where you can go to get it at the end of our show. So that's awesome, man. Congrats. All right. I got to start back. You're welcome. I got to start with you like I pretty much do everything else. So let's first start about when you heard about Marvel Snap. When did you start here? When did you get into Snap? Did you get in right at the start or when did you start playing?
No, I started playing. So there's a guy. I don't know if you listen to the Ringerverse podcasts.
Yeah. Okay.
So one of the Ringerverse hosts posted on Twitter. He's like, "Oh, I made this deck that was so good, and I can't be defeated." Da 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 da. I was like, "Okay, well, like, what is he talking about?" Like, so, I downloaded Snap, and I was like, I am in. This was late December, and I was just like, oh my god, this game is exactly what I want. It's got Marvel, it's got elements of card games that I am interested in, particularly poker. It has a lot of poker elements. involved in it, and I was just like, okay, yeah, this game was directly made for me, and it's the first card game that I've ever played
Okay.
in this sort of genre. So like no Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering, all those
Wow.
things are
Okay.
completely foreign concepts to me.
Okay. Wow. All right. That's awesome. So, you just so okay, you got him kind of recently then, and you picked it up right away. How was your journey at the start of the game? I mean, I'll be honest, I loved it. I loved how the game started and how you were getting the cards as you go, and trying to get all those cards. And then of course, when I looked it up on, I think it was Marvel Snap Zone, I saw the collection, and I'm like, oh my God, look at all these cards. And here I am knocking everyone off that I get and pressing the buttons so
Yeah.
that I have that card. So did you enjoy your journey? I know a lot of people talk about this now for newer players and how the journey can be a little exhausting, especially when you get to series 3, because it just seems to take forever. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
people that I've had on the show talk about that being a pain point because it's so long to get through that. But how was it for you when you were going through the first part of the game?
It's actually funny you should ask. And I should clarify that was December of 2022,
Oh
not
wow. Okay. Okay.
not
So
2 months ago.
you
So
were
I've
in
been
close
playing
to
for
the
a
you
year
were in close
plus.
to the beginning. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's funny. So the first time that I played, I got to series 3 and I was grinding and I was like, I, I started just getting bombed on. Once I hit series 3, I was just getting crushed over and over and over again. So I was like, I've played enough, you know, mobile games
Yeah.
to know like sometimes you are not optimizing your chances of being good at this game because you were just you just going in, diving in, not really thinking about like strategy of what it takes to get from terrible to decent to medium to pretty okay.
Yeah.
So I created a new account. I played for about 2 weeks. I played for about 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, let me try again. Let me actually start looking online to see what people are saying that need to be done. Yada yada yada. So I started looking up what good Series 1 decks are, what good Series 2 decks are, and the second time that I tried, I got to Series 3. I probably got about 10 cards in Series 3, but all of those Series 3 cards just weren't helping me, and they
Mhm.
weren't directed towards the way that I would want to play the game. So I made another account. Now here's the lucky part. So account number 3, the first card that I get in series 3 was Maximus. And I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. The third card that I got in series 3 was Sarah.
Makings of a Sarah deck.
And I was able to make a Sarah deck
Nice.
that was like, I was just destroying folks. Like, I
Oh,
was
I'm
just
sure.
like, it went from, struggle to, oh, I understand actually how this game is played.
Mm,
I've got the Enchantresses, and I've got the Shang-Chi's, and I've got the Sentries, and I've got the Nova, and I got the Killmonger, and I was just like, I understand what's going on, and
mm,
using Sarah for me helped me kind of understand what the capabilities were of the game. It helped me learn what priority meant.
yeah.
It helped me understand the decks that I had no chance against, so I should stop playing. And from once I got that Sarah deck, I got to Infinite with like a week to go in that first month of that new deck. So
Wow.
I was like, and from then it was day 2, day 4, day 3, day 4, day
Wow. No
5, day
kidding.
4. Yeah. So like, yeah. The one thing that we're kind of skipping ahead on the infinite talk, know the decks that you're good at and play them. That's what
Yeah.
I can't play bounce. I wish I could play bounce. I'm
Yeah,
terrible at
I
bounce.
am not good at it either. Yep,
I
bounce and
can't
move. I'm
play.
terrible at either one.
I can't play bounce. I was good at move. I've actually gotten to infinite with the silky smooth deck that Lambie came up
Lamby.
with in
Yep.
around September. I got to infinite with that, so I'm good with that. But like bounce, Loki, discard, destroy, I'm just really terrible at.
Yeah.
It's just not. My brain doesn't work in the
Yeah.
ways that it needs to do those things.
Yep. Yeah. That's great. I love that. Yeah. You learn you with the Sarah deck. I mean, that's a really good way to learn tech just overall, because you know that you've got that Sarah. You know you're going to get a big dump on turn 6 from your other cards, like you were talking about Maximus, which is a great value card. And then you got you were saying, the Killmonger. So you had the tech in there. Is so much zoo in levels 1 and 2 going around still. I mean, you see in your zoo, you're seeing your Wong. So you had a defense against all that. So yeah, that's awesome, man. And that will get you to where you need to go. Well, that's cool. Very, very different approach to it. I love that. And hey, it just goes to show you, maybe you don't get it the first time, you go and you try it again a couple different times, and then it all of a sudden clicks.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I had never bought any of the season passes.
Oh wow. Okay.
So at that point, I invested $0. It didn't make it. I put no money in, so it's not like switching from this account to another account was costing me anything financially. You know what I mean? So yeah. And that was before I actually realized just how important the season passes were.
Yeah.
Especially at that time, because that was like Zabu came out when Zabu originally came out. So it's funny. I got to infinite in the Zabu season. That was the very first season that I got, and I didn't buy the season pass.
That's crazy.
And that was at that time it was +2 or -2 cost for all your four point cards when they first came out.
Yeah, that card was broken big
It
time.
was broken as hell.
Yeah.
But and then I was like, well, I saw people on Reddit and whatever talking about how broken this card is, and I was like, oh, well, they're these broken cards are the ones that I kind of like need.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. It brings back memories. I talk about Galactus a lot on here, and he was really the first big bad I ever opened. So I opened a cache right when the big bads got put into the game, and I'm literally in the bathroom getting ready for work in the morning. I have my phone there, and I click it, and I get a Galactus. I'm like, damn. And then I remember looking at the card, and I'm like, well, this card sucks. Why the hell would I want to blow up other locations?
Right.
So I never touched the darn thing. And now looking back at it, I'm like, oh my God, had I known that with Spider-Man back then at the time, oh my God, I would have had a field day with that. But I didn't catch on to it until a little bit later on. So yeah, man, that's cool. That's really awesome. I've tried opening another account like more recently, maybe 2 months ago, because I wanted to just go back and see what the new player experience is kind of like again for like newer players, so I can get a better handle on it and stuff like that. And I felt the pain, man. I felt the pain. I was going through. I got the Series 3, and there I am playing my my Zoo deck, or what little I had of a Wong deck. And next thing you know, I'm running up against full on destroy with Venom, Carnage, the whole 9 yards.
Nimrod, 9 Nimrods.
Yeah, like dude, I'm like, I can't compete with this. I'm trying to move up on ladder, and I think I'd get to like level 30, and I'm getting destroyed at like level. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. So yeah, you're 100% right with the season pass thing. It's almost a must. It really is for newer players that are starting, and it's not for what you get. It's not a bad value if that's all you're going to do.
It's good value.
It is, yeah. If that's all you're going to do, it's definitely worth it, because those cards usually end up being, for the most part, pretty powerful. You were talking about Zabu. I mean, as recent we had as Loki, Hope Summers, of course. They're just good cards. And
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, man. They very seldom ever miss. Now they do. They've missed on a few, but
Sure.
very seldom do they miss on season pass cards. So there you go. If you're watching and you're a new player and you kind of maybe just started or you're listening to the show, there you go. Good lesson, and get the season pass because it'll really help you out going forward. So
another quick tip that I would give, and this is completely anecdotal, but it's been my experience. There are certain cards that if you are early in series 3, if you start using them, you start seeing much more difficult decks to play against than, and they say there is no matchmaking. I say that's absolute BS.
Oh, I do too.
I think it's absolute BS because they also say that, if you're under series 3, you don't play against series 3. So inherently that means that there are matchmaking things embedded into the system. So
yeah,
the deck that I was using had at the time two series 3 cards, and the rest were series 1 and maybe a couple of series 2, and I was playing against series 1 and series 2 decks.
yeah.
The second that I got Thanos probably the 10th card, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to try Thanos." I'm starting to play Thanos with the full Thanos deck, and I was getting just destroyed. I was like, "Okay, let me go back to my Sarah control, Sarah, basic dude Sarah stuff," and I was able to like just laser through the infinite path really quickly.
To your point, I listen. I still see that to this day, and I believe your point 100%. Because the matchmaking, I know they break it down a lot. They tell you it's by your overall collection level and other things that go into that. But yeah, man, there is just way too many times in this game that I'll pull out a deck and it'll be something completely ridiculously new that shouldn't really be out there. It's a combination of just a bunch of cards, and man, it's almost like clockwork. More, a few times during a day. That doesn't happen all the time, but it's almost like clockwork. I'll get a deck that counters me, like right off 100%. The bat. It'll just be cards that I'm like, now come on. Like this is a deck that's anti my deck, just completely against what I'm playing. So yeah, I agree with you there. There's something to that matchmaking thing. And when I talk about people come to me and they're like, well, I get tilted in this game. I get upset because I lose some of that. That's one of those times where you just probably just should walk away for a while. Just leave it go. And then maybe that matchmaking thing or whatever settles itself down. You come back and maybe you kind of get on a different path with it a little bit. But yeah, 100% I agree. There's definitely something to that where they're matching you up, against certain players, possibly certain decks and stuff like that, because we don't really know what happens like that. That's been going on in card games forever. Hearthstone, Magic, they all did that. Matched you up somehow against, with a certain way and a certain algorithm. So, all right, well, let me get into, because, my listeners all know, and I'm very upfront and honest with them. I have never hit infinite. 99 is the highest I got. And so, yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So, what, other than, and I love the deck idea, obviously knowing your deck. I talked about that on my podcast today. I was messing around with some decks the last few days. I was playing a lot of discard, and I was really trying to get to know the deck. Took it in a proving grounds and just playing some conquest with it and just getting to know it better. So talk a little bit about that. Obviously your Sarah deck did really well for you because you knew the deck. But tell everybody how important that is, because I know with snapping, especially in this game, and like you said, the poker aspects of it, it's such an important part of the game. And if you don't know that, you're going to find it tough to climb.
Yeah, there's a lot into knowing your deck. So it's knowing your combinations and your sort of win conditions. That's only the first part of it. Another part of it is knowing what you lose to.
Yeah.
With the Sarah decks that I use this past season, this past infinite run, I got through the 70s and most of the 80s using a Sarah Ghost deck.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I know that my Sarah Ghost deck I am able to destroy pretty much every destroy deck
Deck. Yeah.
on the that's out there, because having priority on those decks, you know where they're going to go.
Yep.
But there are other decks like bounce where you're not going to be able to put up enough points, and their points are low enough. They don't have enough ongoing cards that when turn 6 comes and you're throwing out all your turn 6, they're throwing out twice as many cards, and you don't know where they're going, and so instead of butting your head against these decks that you're going to lose to, if they snap, leave. You got to leave. You absolutely have to leave.
Yep.
So one of the things, I used to play a ton of poker, and one of the things that I learned in poker is, and one of the things that is translated to this game immensely, is anytime you do something your opponent doesn't want you to do, you win.
Mm-hmm.
And what that includes is leaving the game. So if you snap and they snap, you have to think to yourself, what just happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And not let ego, not let the desire to show them. Well, showing them is by leaving.
Yep.
And it's one of those things that, like, it's really difficult, but it's so integral to the game. Infinite is all about losing as little as possible and winning as much as possible.
Yep.
So if you're in the 90s and you're losing 4 or 8 cubes, that's on me. That's my fault.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to win 1, 2, 4, 8. I'm trying to lose 1 or 2, 4 at the most.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's so it's like when you can let that fact take over your infinite run, you're going to laser through. And you also start to see what it means, like, what are they called? The bots.
Yep.
Which is another good thing with the Sarah deck. Sarah decks don't love priority. Bots love priority.
Yep.
And when you're running bots, you can fake priority. Don't snap. They snap, and you're like, here's an easy 8 cubes. Here's an easy 8 cubes here and there.
Yep.
So, and another thing, the reason why it feels like, and this is also kind of anecdotal, I feel like I run into a hell of a lot more bots in the first 2 to 5 days of a season than I do in day 25, day 26. That's when all the tryhards are playing, and they're like desperately trying to level up into infinite.
Yes. Yep.
So try and get to infinite as fast as possible, because personally, I don't love the one and done games. I love Conquest. I prefer Conquest. So
yeah, me too.
If I can get to Conquest in a day or two, then this month was perfect. I got infinite in 4 days, and I have the classic Captain America, but I don't play it enough. But there was boosters for it, and now I have 2,200 boosters for Captain America.
Nice. Is that the one with the static on the screen?
The static one.
Dude, I love that card.
I love it so much, but I don't play it nearly enough to level it up.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, I had 5,000 boosters or 5,000 tokens, and I was like, booster.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, man.
Yeah.
I would love to get that ink split. That would look so good inked because it would
Exactly.
look like you're watching an old time static TV. Oh my God, yeah, that'd be amazing. Such a good card.
Yeah.
That's great. I love the discussion because you're not the first person. I've had a couple other people on here who have said that they were big time poker players. That definitely, without a doubt, gives you an edge and an advantage in this game. It really does because you know, like you were saying, when you're playing poker, you know when you need to get out. You know when you have to leave. And I think so many people, myself included, when you're, you know, like you were saying, the ego does take over and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I can win this. There, you know, I can win this. I know I can. I'm going to pull that card out of a hat that I know is going to win me the game, and I'm staying, and I'm not going to let this guy snap me. And then you just get that attitude. It's like, and that's the wrong way to do it. You have to, you're right. You have to know your deck conditions. You have to know your win conditions, when you could win, when you could lose, bad matchups. You do have to know that. And then you have to be comfortable with saying, all right, I lose. And I'm going out. I'm taking that one cube loss and I'm out. And not feel bad about it, because technically in this game, losing is winning. That's a win when you do that.
100%.
And it's so against the grain of what we as human beings know as a game. Because a game is like, you're playing a sports game or like Madden or something. You want to score the most points you can. You know, you're playing a strategy game, and your whole thing is never to fold or never to leave. It's we just have it ingrained that you are supposed to just stay in a game, but it is so much like poker in that aspect, that you really have to know.
Folding is winning.
Yeah.
Folding is winning.
I compare it all the time to the Kenny Rogers song, man. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. You have to know that. And it's 100%, 100%.
Like if you watch Lambie, for example, who is just a freak of nature when it comes to playing the game. Yeah. It's like, you know, if you're trying to learn how to play, don't watch Lambie, because he's like, step 1, be Lambie, step 2, win. that's essentially what it comes down to. Yeah, but if you're watching him and you're watching him play Conquest, he is losing 1 and 2 cubes all the time. All the time, and doesn't bat an eyelash. It doesn't bother him, and it shouldn't bother you. It should bother you to lose 8. It should bother you to lose 4. Because more often than not, you know better. And the difference between like the greatest of the greats and like pretty good players and like okay players like me is the math. That's like, they know the math. The Hooglins know the math. The Kachias know the math. The Cozies, they know the math. I know the math. I just don't do the math all of the time, which is why I only have 1 Conquest avatar instead of every Conquest avatar like they do. Because at a certain point, I'm like, oh, math. And I let it go, and I lose the 4th match or the 5th match in the Gold Conquest, and it's over. So that's what you need to do. And I believe in you.
I bet. One of these days I'm going to get there, and it's going to be like a big celebration on the show, and all of the people who followed me. To your point, I've watched so many content creators with this, and I've seen it. Like, to your point about the math, you'll see like Binks, you'll see Regis. Those guys will add out the math. They'll be like, okay, if this person goes here with this and plays this card here, this is going to be this much, and if they go here, this is going to be this much. And then that's when they determine, they know the person's deck that they're playing, so they know what cards are probably going to come out, and they add it up and they say, okay, in a situation where they probably should have lost, they win because they don't play the lanes that they know that other person's going to play the big card in.
Right.
So 100%. And that comes with, now those guys play a lot. They do. I mean, they're playing on their streams quite often. They're playing 2, 3, 4 hours at a clip, some of them. So they do play a bit more. But as much as I hate to say it, because I'm not a math guy, this game is about math. Unfortunately, you have to know some of it. Yeah.
It's like it's 40 to 60% feel and 40 to 60% math. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 100% math, but like you just if you play it enough, you
Yep.
know what wins without having to like actually calculate it in a calculator.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
What's your favorite deck? What if you were if your kids are being held hostage and they say we'll free them if you win one game against me. What would you run against me?
I mean, and this comes from my Galactus days. I'm a ramp fan. I like ramp. I like the ramp genre, and with that came ever since the old Galactus decks, and that came ever since. I was even playing it without that for a time, and just the whole, get the cards out quicker. So using the Electro, using the Wave, getting your big cards out, and then getting priority quickly, and then just doing what you need to do at the end of the game. They're my favorites. I used to like Sandman Ramp quite a bit. I played that a good amount too when that became popular. But yeah, I kind of I like having priority and I like being ahead, so I kind of can navigate from there. So I think I'm pretty good at that. So yeah.
So to me, I never got good at ramp. Anything that involves like having to pull perfect cards is
Yes,
like I'm absolutely awful at, and I stopped trying.
it does get hard. Yeah,
And it
yeah,
feels like ramp is kind of a dead
it is.
genre if you're
Yeah,
not playing Thanos very specifically.
yeah,
So in order for you to get to infinite, I would say you need to find another deck.
yeah, yeah. And that's
What do
my
you, what are
yeah.
you at now? What are you at now?
I just hit what am I yesterday? 78 or 70. Yeah, 78. I think I'm sitting at now. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
So find a deck and do it in Conquest. Definitely don't do it in
no,
in,
yeah, yeah. I always
in the
practice
thing.
decks and yeah, no doubt.
Where a deck that you can win, let's say 8 out of every 10 or 7 out of every 10 proving ground games.
Yep.
Then take that into uh the what do they call the infinite track or whatever,
Yeah, the latter.
and just be careful.
Yep.
Don't even snap.
Yeah.
don't even snap unless you know you're guaranteed to win or you're
Yep.
guaranteed that you're playing a bot that you can beat.
Yep.
And get from 78 to the 83,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And then just grind,
Yep.
grind.
Yep.
Everybody
Yep.
wants 8 cubes at a time, but it's
Yep.
just not. It's not there.
Yeah.
It's that's not the way that people do it. And the people that are getting there in a day or two, they're playing a lot. I
They
play I
are.
I play a lot in day 1 and day 2 so that I don't have to play as much the rest of the month, and I'm like, now I'm pressing. Now I feel like I need a new deck, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, this deck. I don't even know how to play this deck." And then you start trying to, this and that and the other. And sometimes maybe just switch up a card, because like we were talking about with the matchmaking, 1 or 2 cards makes a difference.
They do. Yeah, they really do. 100%. There's a person who follows me on Twitter, and he I talked about his deck because he shared it with me because he knew I was a Galactus player, and he's like, check this out. And it's basically it's an Annihilus deck.
Mhm.
But he switched up cards, and he put in a Wolverine, and he put in a Galactus, and he put in a Death. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I'll be honest, I played that for 3 games yesterday and won 8 cubes, 4 cubes, 4 cubes.
Right.
And it was probably because they didn't see it coming. And I had multiple play lines. I could play the Annihilus with the goblins and stuff like that and go that route. Or I could play the Galactus route and get the Wolverine out. And then I had the Eliath at the end to finish him off or a death with. So yeah, it's a great point. Sometimes you just, I know a lot of people love the net deck. And that's where they get a lot of ideas from, which is great. But like you said, sometimes it's best to take a couple cards and kind of make it your own,
Yep.
and change it up a little bit, because then the really good players or the people who do really well aren't going to be as able to see exactly what you're doing. And that's an advantage to you for sure, because they're not going to know necessarily what your next play is.
Yeah, I had like one of my Sarah decks had rescue in it, and
Okay, yeah,
I mentioned to it, I was like, oh yeah, I hit infinite the last 2 months with Sarah rescue,
rescue.
and someone commented and said you could do much better with other cards in your deck, and I'm like, I'm 2-day infinite.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you do better
I'm
than that?
like, I don't need better than 2-day infinite. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I'm looking for.
that's pretty
So,
good.
so sure, I could, but I don't need to. You know? So, and people get hung up on, what the meta looks like, what the
Yeah,
best cards are, I need to be playing the best cards in order. No, you need to be playing the deck that wins you games. And
yes,
that was a deck that was winning me games. Rescue was getting me to 9 points. He couldn't be Shang-Chi'd, and the 9 points is nothing to sniff at.
yeah. No, no
So
doubt.
it's
Yeah.
it's those sorts of things. So don't listen to what everyone. Don't even listen to me. you know, just play what wins,
Yeah,
and when it doesn't win,
try something else. That's
just
what I've been
retreat.
doing. Yep, I've been learning. I picked up discard, and I've been learning discard now because discard's pretty good. Even though it got the nerf to Apocalypse, it's still a pretty good deck. And I'm playing the Meek one with the Helicarrier and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm playing Improving Grounds, but I could see the mistake plays I made and some of the stuff I messed up with because I'm just not used to it.
Sure.
But I was, I was getting some more consistent wins with it in there, and after I got a little more used to the deck. So yeah, 100%. Great advice, and yeah, like I said, I'm there's going to come a time where I'm going to be determined to do this, and I'm just going to get down to when it's. And to your point too, a lot of times I got to, like, I was in the 80s. And I'd be like, all right, the first couple days I hurried through and I got through 60 and I got through 70, and then I was in the 80s and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then I go and I play Conquest and I let it go. And I wait until that last week. And then you're right. That last week, forget it, because you're gonna have everybody in there, like Joe said, trying to get to infinite at the very end of the season. So you're not going to have many bots. You're going to have a lot of players in there that are all trying to do the same exact thing you are. And it's very difficult because those people are going to be very cautious. They're not going to give up 8 cubers. They're going to drop one. They're going to retreat early. And so it makes it very difficult. So you're 100% right. The easier way to probably do it. And, like you were saying, if indeed there are bots early on when they start the season, it's probably much easier to do it on that first or second day, because that's
Get
when
in quick,
yeah.
and get out, and you never, and because I don't care about my rank.
Yeah. Oh, I don't.
I
Yeah.
could not care less. I
Yeah.
don't I I was at maybe 11,000 when I hit, and I couldn't tell you because I haven't played 1 second since then. It's been 100%. It's always 100% conquest, because for as long as the games are, it feels to me there's a more relaxed game to it, and
Yes,
also
I
it
agree.
also helps you learn how to play the decks when you have to win and you have to play the same deck 4 and 5 and 7 times
Yeah.
in order to win.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what you can beat and what you can't.
Yeah. I agree on that too. I like the game mode. I just like it better. I like it better
I prefer
because, yeah, me too. Because it's just, there's not as much RNG. You can get the RNG that'll just absolutely kill you. What I find a lot is I play a destroy deck. They get to destroy locations all the time.
it. Yeah,
If I
100%.
play, if I play a certain deck, I end up getting screwed over by some location. So you're getting RNG. You sometimes just get a bad opening hand and stuff like that. So yeah, and then you can work your way through that in a conquest match, because it won't happen to you every single game.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. I think it's a better mode as well. Yeah, definitely. I love it. That's awesome. So there you go, guys. You get some tips here from Joe, and hopefully maybe you'll use some of this, and you guys will reach infinite as well at some point. And I will keep you posted on how I'm doing as well every week on the show.
I believe in all of you.
There you go.
You can all do it.
There you go.
When I constantly say I stink at this game, but I know when I'm winning and I know when I'm losing,
Yeah,
and
that's important.
I attack my edges when I can, and I get the hell out when I can't.
Yeah,
You know.
there you go. That's it's important advice and great advice. I love that. Absolutely love that. So, all right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, because obviously we're playing this game because most of us love Marvel stuff. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit.
Mhm.
Take me back. I'm a big comic book fan. I talk about them all the time. When did you start enjoying the Marvel stuff? I know you talked about your coming into this game because of the IP, and you saw Marvel and you're like, oh man, I'm in. So bigger fan of like the movies and stuff, or were you a comic book guy as well?
So I was a semi comic book guy. My
Okay.
brother was a big comic book dude, and his best friend had like crates and crates and crates,
There you
and
go.
of comics. And I was more of a tangential guy, so I would go to the mall. Malls are these
Yeah,
these
what's a
large buildings,
mall? That was
these
yeah.
large buildings with tons of stores in them. And I would go and I'd pick up Weapon X in the 90s was the one that I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
ooh, Weapon X.
Yep.
But my ADD brain could not get me to go every week to buy the things, and it felt like it it, it was hard to read episode 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5 and consistently go to the comic book store.
Every week.
So
Yeah.
but the one thing that I did love is they used to do these books where you lined up the covers and it showed like all of the Marvel characters.
Yeah. Big
And
mural.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a big mural of those
Mhm.
things, and I would read each page looking at the power creep of all the of all all of the Marvel characters.
Yep.
So I wasn't reading the stories as much as I was reading what their attributes are, what their this were, what their that were.
Yep.
When I graduated and I had enough disposable income, that's when I started buying graphic novels of the
Oh yeah.
books that were
Yep.
already
Yep.
complete. So I was reading Walking Dead, and I was
Oh
reading
man, I love The Walking Dead. Yeah, I
um,
love it.
there was one called Chew that I really loved.
Yep.
Et cetera, et cetera. Ed Brubaker was doing a tons of things like 100 Bullets, and
Great stuff.
The Preacher
Oh,
books,
dude,
and
Preacher's so good. I have the whole run, man. The
yeah,
whole
me
run. I
too.
loved it. Did you watch the show?
Oh, of course, of course.
Oh, go
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
so good.
And I've always been at least at the very least comic book adjacent.
Hmm.
And then when the movies came out in the late 90s, I was already all in because
Yep.
I was all X-Men all the time.
Yep.
They were the premier Marvel superhero crew.
Yep.
So between you know X-Men and Spider-Man, I was like those were right in my wheelhouse. And I've always been a media consumer, so
Yep.
the television shows, the movies, I was all in all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Favorite MCU movie?
Favorite MCU movie? I'm basic. I would go with Endgame.
Okay. Yeah.
Endgame is it's so good.
One of the most fantastic endings I've ever seen in a film. And you know what? It's funny you mention it because I just was browsing, perusing some YouTube stuff, and I'm seeing reaction videos of people watching that scene for the very first time
Yeah.
in that big battle and stuff like that. And oh my God, what a I can remember being in a theater, and I've gone to many films. I don't ever remember being in a theater with a crowd reaction like that one.
Never. And
And
I've been to Star Wars
me
opening
too.
nights.
Me
I've been
too.
to like
Yep.
almost all the opening nights. I've been to, you know, any big ticket event movie. I've seen it opening night. That's just the way that my brain works. I want to
Yep.
see it the first day
Yep.
and not the third day.
Yep.
It's just how I
Yep.
am. And for example, when Cap caught Mjolnir,
Dude. Oh.
the place lost their
Yep.
minds, and
Yep.
I lost my mind. I was
Yep.
like, yeah. I could not have been happier seeing that. It was so good.
Oh my gosh, man! When he's standing there and he looks like he's defeated, and the shield's cracked, and then all of a sudden you hear, hey, Cap, on your left. And everybody just
Dude.
broke out. And then,
Yeah.
of course, when each character came in, they saw Black Panther, people freaking out. And then when Spider-Man comes and people freaking, oh my God.
Yeah, it was so good.
I have never heard, like I said, packed house, never heard a reaction like that in my life. And if you guys have not seen it, go on YouTube and just look it up, reactions for Endgame, and you'll see it's so good. And I'm sure most of you have seen it by now that listen to the show and that love Marvel. But I can rewatch that and I could still get chills from that ending.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. What was yours, by the way?
My favorite MCU film, man, for me, it's probably Infinity War and Winter Soldier. I like both of those a lot. Winter Soldier, I went into that movie not thinking I like it, because I'm like, I was never, I like Cap, I do, and Bucky and the whole story, and I knew the story of that, but I thought, this kind of looks to me it's going to be a little bit of a political thriller. I'm not too sure if I'm going to enjoy it, but I came out really, really liking how they did it. And Infinity War, just because of the fact that I'm such a big fan of the comic. The Infinity Gauntlet, I tell everybody I'm a wrestling fan, so I use wrestling terms, but I marked out when I saw Thanos. When I saw Thanos turn around on that throne and the grin, I stood up and I'm like, Thanos, this is amazing. Yeah, dude, I was so happy to see that, because the Infinity War and the Infinity Gauntlet are one of my favorite reads. And so to see those two, and just to see Thanos on a screen, and thinking to myself, because when you first saw him in the teaser, he kind of looked a little weird. And I'm like, yeah. But thankfully, graphics came a long way in that time. And by the time he got to the film, he looked so good, because I was afraid. I'm like, is this going to be crappy CG and look really bad?
Sure.
But he looked so good. And oh my God, I absolutely loved it. But Endgame's right up there, though. I mean, Endgame was just a fantastic way to finish that whole series. And stuff like that. It was a little sad, because you knew that a chapter was ending, and a lot of these people like Robert Downey and of course Chris Evans, such big stars in the whole thing, and they're pretty much done, and it's like, man, that's hard to lose. And I really think I still love all of it. I've watched all of it, I've seen it, all the series on Disney Plus, everything there is, but I still believe that those two holes were very, very tough for them to fill. And we'll see how it goes.
You mean originally?
Originally,
yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And I think when they do this whole Secret War thing that they're planning, and they bring the X-Men back into it, Deadpool and Wolverine, super excited about that. When they bring them in and they start all over again and do this restart that they're planning, I think it's going to be really good, because they're going to bring in some new actors. They're going to get the X-Men back involved and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's going to generate another round of excitement, I think, into the films.
One of the things that actually makes me sad is Robert Downey's kind of anti Iron Man, anti Tony Stark sort of attitude now that it's kind of all done. And it's like, look, man, I love you as an actor. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was probably the first movie that he'd done after all of his sort of issues. And then for him to sort of turn around and be like, well, this thing that sort of vaulted me back into superstardom, kind of treating it like a joke or like a bastard kind of thing. I don't love it. And it is what it is, but and it feels like he's the only one that is outwardly so hostile towards it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because Chris Evans, I've heard interviews with him, and he's even said, and it's funny because who even knows whether this could be something that happens, and if it would, it'd be hilarious. But he's come out and said he would love to do a cameo as Human Torch. And I'm like, could you imagine in this Deadpool film, if they have all that, like they're talking about how, they're with the TVA, they're on that planet with Goliath. And if they have all these if they have all the old actors, like Fox actors playing the roles and stuff, like they already said Jennifer Garner and other people are going to reprise their roles. If that's true, could you imagine if we see Chris Evans walk in on set? And
that'd
I think Ryan Reynolds is even joking about it. And he even said, he goes, now imagine, he said, all of a sudden, imagine he walks in and he said, Deadpool turns around. And he says, hey, look, it's Captain Universe coming in to help save us all. And then he looks at him and he goes, what are you talking about? My name's Johnny Storm.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh my
Oh man.
God, dude, it'd be so good. But he even said, he would love to come back and do something. So yeah, I agree. I mean, Robert has been, he's been in some good things. He's been in some not so good things, but Iron Man, he just made that role so iconic, and people loved him. I mean, people absolutely loved him.
He was the perfect casting
He
for
really
it.
was.
And
Yeah.
I particularly don't even want another one, to be
Yeah.
perfectly
No.
honest. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I would want him to enjoy doing uh, the role again. I don't want
Yeah.
to force it on him,
Right.
but he's a great Tony Stark.
Yeah, he is, no doubt. The quirkiness and absolutely no doubt. I was hoping maybe because they're doing the Ironheart thing with Young Avengers, I was hoping maybe he'd come back and maybe do voiceovers because her AI in the comics is literally Tony Stark.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so I was kind of hoping. I thought, all right, maybe if they do the Young Avengers thing, you'll hear Stark, because I can't imagine voice work would be that difficult. You just do some recording. You probably aren't even there very long doing all that stuff. You're just saying lines.
Throw him a boatload of
So
money.
yeah, right. Yeah, give him 10, 15 mil, let him come in, do some voice work. It'll be all good. You'll definitely get people going to see it for sure. But that's awesome. Yeah, listen, we're all Marvel fans. This is why we do this. This is why we love this game. We come from all different places and ways that we've gotten through it. With me, it's comic books from back in the day. I love how you've read other stuff too. I love the Preacher mention, Walking Dead, dude. That's what got me watching the show. I was reading the books prior to when the show came out. It was done amazingly well. I thought that they differed some from the books. Their Negan was very different than the Negan, but listen, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's portrayal of Negan's fantastic.
It was great. Yeah.
So yeah, but absolutely great. I'm still watching. Some people I know gave up on it, and when Rick left, I know a lot of people were like, it's just not what it used to be. I watched it all through. I watched Fear. I watched all of the spinoffs, and now I'm watching the new ones that are on now.
The new one. I haven't watched the Michonne and Rick one yet, but it's
been
in
pretty.
the queue.
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. It's almost over. I think there's one episode left. This coming weekend is the last episode, so it's only 6. But I've enjoyed those little. The Daryl one I thought was good. It was very different.
It was Daryl in France is just such
it's very
strange
weird
premise.
Yeah, like when I first heard,
I liked it though. It was fine.
It was when I first heard that. I'm like, how in the hell did he get to France? How does he get aboard a ship
right
in the middle of it's like, you're not taking a plane, so how does he get to France? But yeah, man, I dig it, and I got that from my comic book, so that's awesome, man. Love it. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about now. This is kind of some past news, but I just wanted to go through some of it with you. Before we go to that, because we're on the films and the movies.
Oh yeah,
X-Men 97, man.
So good.
So, dude, the first 2 episodes were amazing. I didn't even go back and really refresh and watch the other ones, and I know a lot of people are. A friend of mine's like, I'm not going to watch until I go back and watch the other ones first. But I remember those pretty well, and seeing the animation and how far it's come, and the voice work, and as soon as it started, I'm hearing this like rumbling in the background, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, yes, they're using the same theme song. This is amazing. What a flashback that was. And now, episode 2, you had the long-haired Magneto with the big M.
Great hair.
Chest. Oh,
that man has some fantastic hair.
He's got 90s Fabio hair, dude.
90s Fabio, and then he's got like his new outfit is like,
with the big
Magneto
M, man.
is not messing around,
dude, man. He looks. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I can't wait for the next episode. I think it comes out tomorrow.
Yes. So my partner and I, she had never heard of the animated series, and I was like, well, we need to do every one of these episodes. And it's really funny because they're all in 480p, so it's all you've got these big like HD TVs, and it's in this tiny little square, and you're like, okay, that's fine. But the one thing that was truly shocking was just how many Snap characters are in that show.
Yes.
It's like everyone. You
Yes,
know,
man.
there's a Nimrod episode, there's a few Leech episodes, there's a Lady Deathstroke
We
episode.
already have Master Mold.
You know, Kazaa, you've got the master molds and the new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like holy moly. And you know, being the dork that I am, like anytime someone would show up, I'd pull up Snap on my phone
Yep.
and I would be like, hey, this is Leech, you know, this is, and she's like,
Yep.
she's like, I don't care. But
Someone
but
made a meme and they put it on Twitter, and it had the scene with Leech when they're holding the gun up to him, and they wrote above the thing, "Just shoot him already." I'm like,
yeah, right.
oh man, dude.
For as
It's
much
so
as I
good.
hate Leech, in all seriousness, for as much as I hate Leech, he's a necessary evil
He is.
for the
Yeah,
game.
he
Like,
is.
you
Yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
yeah. He is.
people complain about Shang-Chi, but like, look, if you're gonna drop a Hela that is dropping
Yep.
6 14 powered cards, what am I supposed to do? What
Yep.
can I do to do that except lose?
Yep.
And it's like, no, I don't want to lose, I want to win.
Yep.
I'm here to play and I'm here to win.
Yep.
And you need the Shang-Chi's of the world. You can't
Mhm.
nerf Shang-Chi
No.
and then while Hela exists.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Yeah.
You
No
know what I'm
doubt.
saying?
No doubt.
So yeah, that's my one kind of gripe with the, you know, everybody complaining about everything.
No, 100%. There's necessary cards like Leech is, because again, to your point, that 6-turn pop off. If you have that on turn 5, they're not getting that 6-turn pop off now. So that it helps you against, because hell is rough, man. You are completely helpless. You see them discarding those cards on curve. Those first couple cards come out, and then all of a sudden, if they snap you, you're done. Just get out,
Yeah.
because they have her coming up. They're going to bring them all back. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. There's nothing you can plan for that's going to beat that deck.
Yeah,
So,
Black Knight on 1, and then they blade your an Infinite on 2, and then they Ghost Rider the Infinite back on 3, and then they throw an unbeatable Ebony Blade 420 on 4, and then they Corvus Glaive on 5, or they Modoc on 5, and then Hela on 6. What am I supposed to do?
Yep. I literally
for not play this game anymore.
That's it. Yeah, right. I literally pulled off a maneuver I never thought I would. Somebody put down the Ebony Blade early when it was a 420. I had an Enchantress, so I'm like, and I had a Shang-Chi, so I'm like, I'm blowing that up. So I'm just gonna do it. They end up beating me anyway because they just got the hell at the end and it filled up the power. But at least I could say I disenchanted the damn thing and blew it up.
Yeah, exactly. So for as much as people want to complain, it's like there's a lot that you have to do to even compete against a Hela deck like that.
Yeah,
Shang-Chi is not the problem. Maybe Hela is the problem.
I've mentioned that more than one time. Yeah, that's I agree. It just got to the point where, and I guess everybody complaining about Thanos is maybe you should try to remember the days before the Thanos stuff where it was all Hela. So that's a great point. You can see in the picture, Morph is up there, man. Morph's getting this due here. You see, of course, Cyclops, Bishop, Jean Grey, of course, having the baby, and we saw the baby got its Cable. Obviously, if you don't read the books, it's Nathan Summers. And you see,
is
Bishop.
that who the baby is?
That is. They said
the
baby's name is Nathan. I'm like, oh man. So you got Storm up there, and of course Wolverine, Gambit, Jubilee. It's just a great show. Check it out if you haven't. And now you can go to Disney Plus if you have it. They have the other season on there, so you can watch the other iteration of it from the 90s on there, so you can watch all 5 seasons on Disney Plus, and then of course start with the new ones. But if you're an X-Men fan, this is not to be missed. It's very, very good.
Quick question. And this is a spoiler, so skip 30 seconds if you haven't watched the show yet.
No, good. You're all good.
Was that Madeline Pryor?
Yes.
And which one is Madeline Pryor? I think the one that knocked on the door is Jean Grey, and the one that was like, ooh, who is this is actually Madeline Pryor. I think that's what the what the thing is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. Yeah, man, this is really good. And if you're a Snap fan, like Joe was saying, you're going to see all of these characters, so many of the characters that from the cards, you're going to see them in action on this series. So definitely go and check it out. It's really, really good. Two episodes out, and now they're going to do one a week. I think they're doing up to 10 for this season. So it's going to be 10 episodes.
10 total.
Yeah, 10 total.
Okay.
So you're going to get episode 3 this week, and then there'll be one every upcoming week. So yeah, give you something to watch while before Deadpool hits the theaters.
I'm all in.
So, oh man, yeah. Oh, dude, that's going to be so good, man. It's going to be so good. All right, I want to cover this really quickly with you. I know this is old news, but I thought we'd talk about it a little bit. This is the latest balance update, and I always credit Nina for doing this. She does an amazing job with these balance update charts. So that's from Nina is Noob. She's awesome. Check her out too. But yeah, so we had some changes here. And we'll start with the Guardians. What do you think of this overall as a change for the Guardians of the Galaxy? They're all going to get the +4 now, so they're keeping them all kind of steady. It seems as if Rocket, pretty good value. He's a 1.5 if you get the, if you get him to go off. Star-Lord is a 2.6. I guess okay, right? Groot and Drax, haven't really seen him played. So honestly, I really don't know, unless it's a dedicated Guardians lock deck. Yeah. I really don't know that they're going to still see play that much. Drax is a 4.9, Groot's a 3.7, which isn't a bad stat line, but again, you're gambling that you're going to get that hit. For him. Otherwise, he's a lousy 3.3 stat line. So, and then Gamora has always been good because you can kind of use her as on the last turn to get that big bonus from her. So what did you think of the Guardians changes? At least they're trying to do something with them. I guess that's the positive.
It's fun. It's just, they're still not particularly competitive.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Like you said, Gamora, there's nothing to sneeze at 5.12.
Yep.
But like, what are you replacing to put in Rocket?
Yep.
Like, what are you replacing to put in Star-Lord? It's unless you're doing some sort of like Jean Grey lockdown Guardians deck where you have all 5 or none.
Yep.
I don't really see what the point is, but I do like that they've been buffed. I appreciate the buff. They're just not going in any of my decks that I'm using.
Yeah. And like the lockdown decks you're talking about are probably going to disappear anyway now that War Machine's out.
Exactly.
Lockdown's going to go away for the most part because you just can't risk it. And now if they put that War Machine down, they're getting into your locked lanes. So yeah, no
and
doubt.
You're not. And you're and
you're not.
The thing that you thought you locked down is no longer locked down, and they're dropping an infinite on it.
I love the meme is going around today, and I think Interrobang shared it. It's the Wanda picture from when she said no more mutants, and they put a bubble. The thought bubble now says no more lockdown. The thing, and I'm like, that's perfect because it's what it's going to be. And it wasn't being played a whole ton anyway, but now it's going to be even further. So I know Alex mentioned on his stream that maybe you might see Professor X get a little bump and get a little love because of this, because it's definitely lockdown is going to be a thing of the past now that War Machine came out. So
make Professor X a 5.3 again. He's what, 5.1? Make him a 5.3 again. It's
give him that little bump.
I think War Machine kind of landed flat, but I think in about a month, War Machine people are going to be like, I hate War Machine. Anytime that they see him a month from now, they're going to lose their minds because they're like, oh my God. So right now, because everybody's using him, he's not amazing, but I still think it's a really, really sick, good card.
He's a shiny new toy. And the thing about it is I talked about it on my audio cast today too. This is a card where everyone's going to have it. Everyone's going to have this card because it was so hyped.
They've been talking about it for 2 months.
Yes. And just very similar to High Evo. and the people saved up their caches. They saved up their they saved everything up to get this because of that. So you're going to pretty much have to almost expect this in almost every deck that you're going to play, because he's
100%.
so he's going to be out there now. So it's but
I had 5 keys and I bought them with tokens. I was just like,
I ended
I'm
up doing
owning
that
this
too.
card.
I bought them with tokens as well. I didn't really want any of the other stuff. The silk is cool, but I didn't really care about it.
Yeah.
I did end up, and I spent 1 key because I wanted to see if I could possibly maybe get the variant, and literally opened it on that 1 key. I got the variant for War Machine, the Pandart variant. So
it's a Pandart.
Yeah, it's a Pandart variant.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I want the blueprint one. So tomorrow when that drops, I'm gonna get the blueprint one. Sure.
You know what's funny, actually? 2 content creators. So Prashan got that today. They got it out of the 800 gold thing to just open for just a random in their shops, and they got it from there. So I've seen 2 people that got that. That's fire, dude.
Yeah, I love the blueprint ones. I love the comic book variant ones.
Me too.
Which, speaking of, the one comic book variant card that they absolutely need to do is the Wolverine come here. He's got like the claws and he's got the come here. That is like, I have all the comic book variants. I will always have all of the comic book variants unless they put them behind a $40, $50 paywall, because I absolutely am not paying $50 for any variant ever for as long as I live in this game. If you're listening, Marvel Snap, if you're listening, Second Dinner, I am not paying more than $19.99 for a variant. I just don't care. And I wish the community would like band together and say, no, I absolutely am not spending $100 on cosmetics for a game. That's a fifth of a PlayStation. Like,
oh God,
I'm not for a cosmetic that you're only going to see very infrequently. Like, how many of the $100 variants have you actually seen live in a game?
Yeah, and even if you do, you're going to see it for a few seconds in a game.
You're going to see it for a few seconds, and I'm going to be like, "You're a dork." Unless you are a content creator who makes their living off of showing the shiny new toys. Super Tech God is, he has every variant in the game.
Yes, he does.
And that's his shtick. And I absolutely love him for it.
Yep.
That's for him.
Right.
Everyone else, please stop. $100 Wong is insane.
Oh my God, yeah, that bundle's ridiculous, and it's not even a great looking card either.
It's a fine card. Like I love art. I love artists.
Yeah,
more power. Like they have a skill that I absolutely never reach. Doubt. It's not 100. Like stop, please. I
agree. We've talked about the economy, and it just, the bundles are getting crazy. There's no doubt. And you're not seeing gold bundles anymore. And when you do, they're not really worthwhile. You're spending a ton of it, and gold is so hard now to get. Sometimes I think people need to think realistically like that. It's like what you're putting in, and what you're getting out. You're getting out basically something that you're seeing on a digital screen. It's not like you're ever going to hold it in your hand. It's not like you're ever going to, so that's really what it is. And it's for your own purposes, basically, for the most part, to look at your collection and say, oh, I have this is cool. Because other than that, the gameplay of it goes so fast that you see that card for minutes during the game, and that's it. That's the end of it. And you're not even paying attention. You're looking at the numbers on the screen. You're not even looking at that card and being like, wow, that looks really cool in the game right now. You're just not doing that. 100%. I agree. Yeah.
Funny story. So there was a recent it was like Iron Man that the the NGO guy, it was just a beautiful variant. I was like, I want that. So
Yep.
I paid the $20 for it, and I split it, and I got a gold
Ooh,
with a red crackle,
nice.
like God split.
Yep.
And I was like, Iron Man, finally, it's my first Iron Man gold, first Iron Man Kirby crackle.
Yep.
And then I look at it, it was actually Sentry.
Ah!
It's an amazing card. Iron Man's in it, but it's the Sentry in the Iron Man suit with Iron Man actually like all wracked.
Oh man.
And it's a dope variant, but
Yep.
like it wasn't even till I like looked at it and I was like, oh, this is a Century. I still don't have a Kirby Iron Man. I still don't have a silver
Oh man.
a gold foiled Iron Man. I just thought that was
Oh
like I
man.
was like, oh
That's
man, I'm really just not paying attention.
Oh man, yeah, we get you get so wrapped up in it. I am like you, the comic book variants. I really really enjoy. I loved. I couldn't wait for the Galactus one to come out. The
Awesome.
cover. I couldn't wait for the Man Thing one because that's special to me in the fact that I own that book. I've had it since I was a kid. I read it very, very young, at a young age. My brother-in-law literally drew a picture of that cover for me, which I have in a frame, literally right over my computer
You
desk.
posted that on
Yeah,
Twitter,
dude.
right? It's
Yeah,
awesome. It's so good.
And I mean, when that character first debuted in a very bad movie on the Sci-Fi Channel, I was pretty upset with the way they did it. But now that he was in Werewolf by Night, I'm like, this is fantastic, and I hope they bring him back. They did said that they were saying that they would, but he was probably expensive. He was a lot of animatronics. That whole thing was all animatronics, so that was probably very very expensive to do. But yeah, I love those, man, and I love the ink splits so much too because it just as a comic book reader, it just looks like an original page. When
100%.
When people go out and they collect the artist pages, they're black and white and they look phenomenal. And now that they've done that whole thing where you can set it just to the gray border and it still pops with the 3D, absolutely
perfect.
Yeah,
and it actually makes me sad that I didn't play enough. I didn't play Galactus. I didn't get Galactus until very very late in Series 3. It was probably it was one of the last cards that I got before I was series complete back in September, which I'm not now because of the switch up. But they nerfed it like 4 or 5 times before I ever got it, and it's like I can't play that card. I try, and I rarely ever get to play it enough to get enough boosters to get the splits that I want. Like a purple crackle inked Galactus is like the god of god splits.
That's the one I got.
It is beautiful.
It was unbelievable.
Absolutely
it was
amazing.
Literally first split of the card. Literally the first one. And I almost died. I'm like, oh my God. That was the best one I've ever hit. And
I have that problem with all of the comic book ones because I don't play those specific cards enough, but I wish I did, which is why I'm so happy that this month's Conquest card was a Captain America that I will never use in 1,000 years.
Yep, the Cyclops.
But I had the classic one, the Cyclops. No,
not the Cyclops, the Phoenix Force. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Phoenix Force one, exactly. But it gave me 2,200 boosters. I can split that 14 times to get the one that I want. It's so good.
It is. That was literally one of the first variants I think I've ever gotten. That Captain America, the classic one.
Oh my God!
That was one of the first. I pulled that very early on, and I remember seeing that, and I'm like, wow, that's like I loved it because it was
the best one.
It really is so good. Yeah,
like number one card for me. Like that is the best variant in the game.
It's so good. It brings me back a lot because I would watch those old 60s and 70s animated series, and that's literally what they looked like.
Sure.
You had the lines going through because that's how we watched TV back in the day. So it was like that's such a good variant, dude. It's tremendous variant.
I wish people loved it as much as we do because it's everybody, I love Rianne. Is it Rianne?
Rian Gonzalez, yeah.
Rianne
Yeah.
Gonzalez. I love her.
Yeah.
She's so good.
Oh
Peach
man.
Momoko is so good.
Yes.
Our Ross. Um what's his name?
Alex Ross.
Alex Ross.
Oh,
He's amazing.
his it looked like paintings. All his
It,
stuff looks just like yeah.
Art
Yeah.
Germ. I loved Art Germ
Oh, Art Germ
way
is
before he started doing Marvel stuff.
yeah.
But there's something about like those classic comics and the
Yeah.
classic look things. Like I just have a thing for him. I just got the classic Angel today.
Yep.
Again, never gonna use him, but he's so awesome.
The
The
one that's
classic
in
Beast is so
the
good
Alex Ross one. You're talking the angel with these flying with the baby.
with the
Oh
baby.
yeah,
I
dude.
just got that today,
Yeah,
and it's
man.
like, oh my god, like I wish like people kind of love them as much as we do.
Yeah, it's real. People don't understand. Like I've talked about this before. Like so many of these cards are comic book covers. People don't even know. Like the Spider-Man, the McFarlane Spider-Man, where he's bent over and he's got the webs all around behind him.
Yeah.
That's a classic comic book cover. That's McFarlane, his series number 1 when he was in the black suit when he first came back from Secret War, and that was McFarlane taking over that book. Very, very classic book cover. So a lot of people don't even realize they're not all marked. I do like the marked ones a little better. The ones that say Marvel Comics Group up on top, like the Werewolf by Night one, killer, dude. That is so nice.
So good.
The High Evo one, I didn't even know what that book was until I saw that card, and I'm like, damn, that's a What If book. I had no idea.
Right.
And I had to look it up. I love those. And it's a shame because I've seen some, of course, the data mines could change, but I've seen some data mines with the variants and stuff, and I haven't seen any. And I'm really hoping that they continue to do them.
Of the comics.
Yeah,
no, I haven't seen one.
It's
like, oh man.
Yeah, I'm bummed about that because I was hoping that they would continue that and keep doing that because I think that's amazing. You take some of those, they call them either Bronze Age or Golden Age books from back in like the 70s and 80s and you take some of those classic covers like the Wolverine one you were talking about, they're iconic covers and people just remember what they look like. Like I can remember books from when I was a young man, what they looked like from the covers.
Sure. And they blew your mind when you'd see them on those those spinny racks and you're like, what is this? I need this. Yeah. So I'm like, what was the last one? Thanos, I believe, was the last one that came out.
Infinity Gauntlet
and
one, yes. So
I
good.
was like, I was token poor for like, because I was just like, oh, when you have to use 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
then I was just like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? And I just like I was like playing to get enough to make sure that I got it. And I got it in like 1 or 2 tokens, but like I couldn't imagine not getting that one.
No, I had to get that too. And again, I was lucky enough I pulled inked with that and I got a gold. I got 2. Actually, I think now I have an inked and 3 gold splits on that card. And so like and it was funny. I was watching I think it was Cam Best put out a video of him trying to get a gold split, and he must have gone through 7 to 10 iterations before he ended up getting one. And I'm like, damn, I must have had some killer luck with this card because but yeah, they're amazing, and I really hope that they continue them. I could think of so many covers that I would love to see from like the classic age. There's a really good one of an issue of Captain America and the Falcon that I think would look fantastic as a comic book cover. I don't remember the number. I just remember Baron Zemo was in the issue. Cap's being held up in chains over a vat of something, like the classic villain thing. I'm dumping you in a vat of acid, and Zemo's there, and then Falcon's coming in, and it's just a great cover. And I'm like, oh, this would make an amazing variant for whoever it is, if it's Falcon or if it's Cap. But yeah, I love those, man. I hope they continue to do them. I'm sure that's part of it. Has to be part of their deal with Marvel that they can, or else they wouldn't have been able to use any of them. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think they're phenomenal, and I also think, looking at it from a comic book reader standpoint, it makes people interested in the comics themselves, I think, because when you see them and you see that cover pop out, you're like, "Yeah, this kind of looks cool. I wonder if I can get a hold of this and actually read it." And so much, like you were saying, of those now can be read in graphic novel form.
Yeah.
So you can just find the stories, and so yeah, it's they're phenomenal. They're really really
You were
good.
also talking about what is the phone version of the digital? It's like Ultimates or something like that.
Um,
Like the iPhone comic book. So I use
oh
a thing
yeah,
called Panels.
yeah,
Panels is the one that I use for like all the downloads. Like I just downloaded essentially the history of the Marvel universe
okay,
from soup to nuts, because I can't read all of those books. I'll
yeah,
just
yeah,
read the compendium of the books
yeah.
and get like the short form version of the thing.
Yep. I just I get my books now, and unfortunately I'm not near a store anymore. I used to always be, but I get most of mine from there was an app called Comixology.
That's it,
That
Comixology.
yeah, I was using that forever, and then they were bought out, unfortunately, but I was able to keep all my collection that I had on there. But they were bought out by Amazon, so now it's called
Right.
Amazon Comixology. So you can still go and get it. In fact, that it's a great point because I didn't even realize that someone shared a thing about Thanos with me that I didn't even know was going on. I have to read these books now. It's literally he created another stone.
Yeah, I saw
Dude, that looks
that.
so cool. I have to
The
go.
Death Stone.
So yes, and he encased death in the stone, which is insane because he
Yeah,
loves
that's
her.
so
And
sick.
the fact that he did that, so I'm going right after I'm done here. I'm going and getting those. They're like $3 a piece. If I could read all four of them from the series, I am definitely getting that. Yeah, it's
My
yeah.
question is, what as if
Thanos
as
needs
if
help. Could you
needed,
imagine if they give
needed
him a
another
seventh
help.
stone?
Yeah,
Oh my
what do you think the
god.
seventh stone would be? Like deletes all one powered cards from your opponent's deck or something like that.
destroys one entire lane of your opponent's cards. Dude.
And it's a
I
it's a one it's a 1/4.
and here's the kicker. She's supposed to be, or he's supposed to be apparently using a new gauntlet for that one stone. So there's supposed to be a gauntlet coming that's going to encase that death stone. So
So
dude,
he's got
this is
6 in
like
one and one
this
in the
is
other.
I was just gonna say he's got like two gauntlets. I don't know how he's
Oh
gonna
my
go. Like,
god.
oh dude, like this is I didn't even know the story existed. And someone brought it to my attention, like, oh my god, I gotta get on top of that. Because yeah, it's mostly I've been reading the new, and I'd recommend it to anybody, the new Ultimate Spider-Man that came out. Oh God, fantastic, man. If you're a Spider-Man fan, it's a can't miss. Peter Parker is in his 40s. He's married to Mary Jane. They have kids. It is a completely different line of that story. Gave up being Spider-Man. Uncle Ben's actually still alive, which is amazing.
And
Uh,
what is it called exactly?
Ultimate Spider-Man. That's it.
Oh,
Just it's just
it's
Ultimate
just
Spider-Man.
another
Yep, just
Ultimate
another
Spider-Man.
run of Ultimate. Yep, Ultimate Spider-Man #1. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I think it's probably up to like book 3 by now because 1, 2 I know have both been out. Might even be 4. But oh, dude, it's fantastic. What a great! They're restarting their Ultimate line is what they're
Okay.
doing.
Because
So
I read the most recent. Well, I read most of the most recent Ultimate, or not this most recent one, but the one before this
yes,
last one.
yep.
And it was definitely interesting. Like,
It was a little different. It got a little weird toward the
got a
end.
little weird. There was
Yeah.
a Wolverine body
Yes.
swap episode, and
Yeah.
that was just like, what is happening here?
Yeah. Yeah. But I would recommend it to anybody. It's very, very good and getting critical acclaim. They literally already reprinted the first issue because they sold so
Oh
many of them.
wow. Okay,
So definitely worth it.
I'll
Such a
definitely check
good,
that out.
yeah, very, very good story. Yeah, definitely check it out if
I'll
you
check it
can.
out when they bundle it.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, it's like, give me 7 comics in one, and I'm in.
Graphic novel. Oh, I'm sure it'll
Yeah,
be coming.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be coming. It's cool because the Comixology app will drop the prices of them too. If they're out for a few weeks, they kick them down to like normally they start off at $3.99 now,
Okay,
and they'll kick them down after a couple weeks down to $1.99 or
okay,
something like that. So it's not even that bad.
yeah.
But Yeah, yeah, it's so good, man. It's awesome. I love it. That's why we love the game, guys, because of all the Marvel stuff and everything like that. So let's talk quickly about War Machine. We mentioned him. I got him. I had a little bit of a chance to play with him. I tried him in High Evo, and my little review of that was he's good, but I don't necessarily know he's necessary in that particular deck. And whether or not he's even necessary in it at all. So he worked a few times where I could get the Infinite down in a lane where I maybe couldn't have before. But I tried it in there. And now what I'm seeing is, after watching some of the content creators in the decks that they did today, a lot of people I mentioned before are playing it in Black Knight decks. So you're seeing that whole Black Knight Infinite Ghost Rider thing, like you had mentioned before.
Yeah.
And now they're playing the War Machine in the deck. So I know you probably mentioned it already, but did you get War Machine? Are you going to get him? And what do you think of the card?
Yeah, I bought him with tokens because I didn't.
That's right,
I didn't
yeah.
want the variants. Plus, as a side note, there's a lot of what I think really good cards coming out, like
Yes.
the Red Hulk next month.
Oh gosh,
next week's Red Hulk is going to be nasty, and I think like there's a few next
Baron
month. That, like
Zemo is next week too. Yeah,
is he's a season pass though, right?
He is the season pass.
Okay,
card, yeah.
so like, yeah, I wanted to hold on to my keys as much as possible.
Yep.
For April. I did get them. I didn't play them enough. I literally just made a High Evo deck as well. Does yours have Hope in it?
No, I didn't have. Oh no, it does. Yeah, Hope Summers. Yeah, she's
so
in there.
Hope on 3,
Yep.
Monger on 4, which in the same lane, which allows you to drop the Infinite on 5, and then a Hulk or a She-Hulk on 6, which is a pretty nasty combination right there.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play him enough. I'm gonna when I'm done this, I'm gonna finish watching Fringe with my girlfriend.
There you go.
we've been watching Fringe, and while I watch Fringe, I've already seen them all.
Yep.
I'll be conquesting with as many Warmonger decks or War Machine decks as I possibly can. Yeah, it seems like it's not as OP, is not as cracked as people said he was going to be. But like I said, like I think in a month, it's going to be, people are going to hate him like they hate Zabu, like they hate Leech or the old Spider-Man or whatever, or Hela. He's going to be one of those decks where like, oh, why's he got to be 4/6? Well, so I'm looking forward to that personally, because Lockdown is probably my second favorite deck style. So once the novelty wears off, I'm all in.
I could tell you, he's bringing out some different cards. A lot of people now are playing Goose. A lot of people are playing Goose now, which makes sense, because if you're going to play all those biggies and then you put a Goose out there, if other players are going to be playing him the same way, they're going to have to be people that are going to try to stop this kind of a deck now. So Goose is an excellent card for that.
So does Goose actually stops it? So if you throw War Machine and they put a Goose, you can't put Infinite in the Goose lane?
No, you still can. You still can do that, but what it stops is all their other stuff. So if they're playing a lot of other big cards, so in other words, like in that High Evo deck, you can, if you brought War Machine out, you can put the Infinite wherever you want it. But if you have the Goose lane, they can't be playing the Hulk, they can't play the She-Hulk, they can't play the the 4 cards there and stuff like that. So they put it in there just to I guess clean up that one other lane at least.
Right.
So you could do that, but yeah, you could still pop that in there because that avoids nothing. So there's nothing that could stop you from playing a card. It's just like Jeff. But yeah, he's interesting. I love the character. I talked about and went over all the comic book stuff on my audio show today. Great character, Rhodey. And you all know him from the MCU, or at least we thought we knew him from the MCU until we found out he was a Skrull for like the last 5 movies
since before
War,
Infinity War. Yeah,
I think it was Civil War. I mean, who knew? But yeah, that was weird.
Well, it actually kind of makes sense because he did like the whole, well, what if we went back to Thanos and kind of choked him to death?
Yeah, he did.
What if we murdered baby Thanos?
Yes, that's right. He did. That was so funny. That's so
So
funny
that
too.
tracks, but the rest does not.
I wonder if they knew that came from a comic book at that time. That was from Cosmic Ghost Rider, which came out before that film. And Cosmic Ghost Rider, for those of you who don't know, is a really fun book. It is literally Frank Castle. He becomes a Ghost Rider in space, and the whole first thing is about him and older Thanos, and he ends up wanting to go back and killing him. So he literally finds baby Thanos, and then he takes baby Thanos on the bike he has that he rides around the galaxy with, and now he's with him. And all this time, he's thinking of ways to kill the baby. So I'm like, oh my god. And then it comes down to, even though he's Frank Castle and all this, he can't do it. He can't kill him. And then we all know what happens after that. But yeah.
Oh, that is so funny.
It is. I can't wait for that character. They're going to have to come out with him as a card. I know they will. It's a lot of people love the book, so I'm sure they'll. That's what people tell, when they talk to me about it, they're like, they're going to run out of characters. Oh my God. Absolutely.
Never in a billion years.
Oh, there's so many. Like, you could look at the X-Men lineup, the Avengers lineups. There's cards that I read books about from years ago. Like, we were talking about a character called Machine Man that not many people know exists. He's like a robotic guy. Like, there are so many characters they can still pull from.
Yeah, like not the compendium, but like that encyclopedia that lined up. There was 1,000 back in like 88.
Yeah.
There was 1,000 characters back then. There's at least that many now. One of the things that I had learned recently about Magic the Gathering is that there's like 3,000, 4,000 cards for that game.
Yes.
Which is so and how old is the game? 20 years? 15?
That came out. I was playing about maybe 2 years, I want to say, after that came out, because we got in right when they call it the unlimited set. So they had an alpha, which were cards that were not allowed to be played because they were square bordered cards. They came out with a beta, which was really their first set, and they were all black bordered. And then they came out with unlimited. So we got in unlimited. So it was about 3 years in, I would say. So it had to be 93, I want to say.
Okay. So we're talking 30 years at this point.
Yeah.
So if 30 years from now, if Snap is still alive, we're going to be dealing with 3,000 cards.
Yes.
Easily. And they're not going to, Marvel's not going to be scrambling to make up people. They have a well of characters that they will be able to pull from for a long time.
No doubt. And artists are drawing new stuff all the time. They're coming out with, with the variants and stuff like that. We were just talking about that Ultimate Spider-Man can end up being a variant at some point someday of Spider-Man. They're coming out with new characters all the time. And then you even see some that are being brought to the MCU and things like that. So yeah, there's no way they're going to run out of material for the game. Absolutely. No way.
And I'm here for it.
Me too. Absolutely, man. I mean,
I'm here for it with bells on.
I mean, obviously, I'm invested, with the show that I do and stuff every week. So, yeah, man, I love it. I love the energy and yeah, man. Listen, I know it's getting late. You've got stuff to watch with your girlfriend, so I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you go do that. For me in the East, it's almost 12:30 in the morning, so I've got to get myself to bed in a little bit and get up for work tomorrow morning. But man, listen, I want to thank you for coming out. I really
appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, man. You come back anytime. Keep in touch, obviously, through X and stuff like that. And again, let everybody know really quickly where they can get that good sauce from that you make as well before we head out. And tell them where they can find you also.
I'm Hot John Joe on Twitter. Give me a follow if you want to see me occasionally talk about Snap or the Sixers and how they drive me, how they kill my soul.
Are you a Sixers fan? I'm a Celtics fan.
Oh, boo. I'm out of here. I'm glad the show is over. Boo.
All my life back to the Larry Bird days. But I do have to say this. The Bird and Dr. J thing was so good back then.
For sure.
I've always respected Julius Erving, Moses Malone. Andrew Toney was a Celtics killer.
Yeah,
Celtic
the
killer,
Boston
man.
Strangler, baby.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
absolutely.
dude.
Love him.
Yeah, so
I went to Dr. J's retirement parade in like
did you really? That's
1987,
awesome.
and he palmed my head, and he had
Oh
the
man.
biggest goddamn hand I've
Yep.
ever seen in my entire life. Like, he palmed my head, and it was like his fingers were touching my shoulders. It was
That's
insane.
insane.
It was insane.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah, no,
cool.
thanks for having me on. You can get Hot John chili sauce at allthejohns.com. You can follow me on Twitter at hotjohnjoe. Yeah, man, I really appreciate this. Next time I want to do the pixel game.
Oh yeah, let's go. I have the yes.
Next
For
time I want to do
sure.
the
For
pixel
sure.
game,
For
and
sure.
I also want to do the what people would cry about the most if they brought back, like, if they unnerfed all of the cards, which one would they cry about the most? It might be Zabu.
Ooh.
Zabu's up there. I would
That's
also
a
say maybe Leader.
leader for
The
sure.
leader, the original OG leader, was he would copy every card that you played on that turn,
Yes.
and that was just like, people were losing their minds over that one.
Absolutely broken. The leader meta, I
Absolutely
remember that
broken.
well.
The leader meta, the arrow meta, where
Yes.
she moved all of your cards.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Okoye, what was it? Okoye and Nakia were both way different back when they started. Yeah, so many. That's a great topic. Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely have you on. We'll talk about all that.
awesome.
I've
Galactus
heard.
and the Spider-Man.
Oh, dude, yes, let's go. I mean, that was my favorite thing ever.
Galactus, Spider-Man, Leech, or like whatever it
Oh,
was, wave
it
into
was so,
Galactus into Spider-Man was like, people
oh,
were
it was
like,
so
we
good.
hate Peter Parker, and
Yep.
Marvel was like, okay, we need to do something.
So oppressive. When you'd see that Galactus come out, everybody's like, "Yep, I'm getting Spider-Man, and I'm not going to be able to do a damn thing." Yeah, man, it was so. Yeah, that's a great topic. We'll have to do that. I like that. That's you've heard some other content creators will do that. They'll go into things. I think it was Teddy Ninja in his podcast. I think they talked about, let's talk about the old broken cards. That's a great topic. I love it. I love it. And the pixel stuff. It's funny you mentioned it. I've forgotten to do that. The last couple of people I've had on, I'm like, oh damn, I was. You know what is funny? I was running out of pixels. I didn't have as many pixels I don't think as a lot of people do. So I'm like, I would do like 5 every time I would do it. So, but now I've gotten a pretty good amount of pixels back. So yeah, for sure, man.
I also wanted to say, for 10% off, I'm going to do this in perpetuity. So if anybody is listening at this point of the podcast, if you put in promo code Snap Decisions, all caps, no space, 10% off forever.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go. I'll make sure to tag it with listen to the very end and you get a deal. So there you go. That's awesome. Love it. Love it.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you
This
so
is
much.
awesome.
Yeah, I love it, man. You, like I said, you're welcome back anytime. Would love to have you back again, and I'll keep you posted, obviously, on my journeys.
Please do. And I listen to all the episodes too. So like when you're like, oh my god, I'm getting so close, I'm like, come on, Joe, let's do it. I can imagine that there's like a ton of people that listen to this that are absolutely like rooting you on.
Yeah,
every time.
A couple of people said to me, they're like, you got to start talking again about your ladder thing because you weren't talking about it for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I need to get back to that. So yeah, it's really crazy how people are interested in that. And I love it, man. I really do.
Last tip.
Yep.
Less Agatha, more more infinity ranking. Oh, less Agatha. I pray you're Agatha-ing in Conquest. And
no, I would never play her on ladder.
Okay,
never,
just checking.
Never in a million years. That is such a meme thing for me. It's more than just to do anything to prove that she could actually win games.
Sure.
And I had her in a Thanos deck this past week, and I did not lose a match. Not one match. And I'm like, dude,
so funny.
It's just sick, man. If you can win with Agatha and all her stupid plays, The
Then
deck's pretty
Thanos
good.
desperately needs a nerf if you can beat
the,
it with
yes,
Agatha.
yes, the deck is pretty good when that happens. So awesome, love it. Thanks so much again, dude. I really loved it. Love meeting you. Love chatting with you. And like I said, yeah, absolutely, you're welcome back anytime, man.
Thanks, man.
Really had a blast. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me for tonight. Again, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Leave me some comments. I answer them all. Also, make sure that you listen to the audio cast as well. I put both out today. So the audio cast is up talking about War Machine and a lot of other stuff. I had a little message in there about a comment I got from a viewer, which was amazing, really overwhelming to me, and much, much more on that show. So make sure you check out both of them. And obviously, check out Joe on Twitter as well. Yeah, I will talk to you guys all again in a week's time. Have a good one. Stay safe. Please be kind to one another. And hopefully, I'll see you all on the next one. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.
See ya.